So, you know, we take 19 students in a year group. We have the 3-year course and the 1-year course, and for 6 months of the year, our foundation course. And that's it. And all of the staff know all of the students. And because we're a small school, both creatively with the students, but across the tutor team as well, we collaborate and share information and share creative ideas. And I know the students, you know, interact with each other a lot, both in terms of supporting each other and creatively and sharing ideas about the craft. So there will be many similarities between what we teach and what other schools teach. And of course, I think the training here is excellent, of a really, really high standard. But I think that both our location, being kind of away from a lot of distraction, and the intimacy with which we work as a kind of collaborating group across the school is quite special, really. I'm going to hand over to our student and our ex-student.
Yeah, I just really wanted to touch on like the location part, because I know that when thinking of drama school, a lot of people could want to be in a big city and stuff. And initially that's what I thought I wanted, because I come from a background where I lived in like a city, and it was very buzzy and lots was going on all the time. But I think being away from everything allows you to really focus, well, not away from everything, but being the school where it is, sorry, the school where it is, that doesn't make sense, but where the school is, you can focus and you can switch off from the outside world. But equally, if you wanted to live in the centre of Oxford, if you wanted to live in closer villages that are accessible to that, you can still have the best of both worlds. And so you won't be missing out on that. But I think, yeah, I'll pass on.
Yeah, I totally agree. And also on the intimacy thing, I definitely was someone that needed, I think if you're someone that lacks in confidence in any way, a school like Oxford is the best choice, because yeah, they're kind of exactly what Kirsty was saying. Everybody knows you on a very personal level. And even I was only there for the year, but even in that time, you know, yeah, everybody knows you. And yeah, I just feel like there's no risk of you know, getting lost in the maelstrom of people. And yeah, I think that's really important. It's really personal. And yeah, I think they have a really commitment to like getting to know who you are and utilizing the best of what you have to offer, rather than kind of trying to, you know, streamline you into, yeah, I think that's something I would say that from my experience, knowing lots of people that went to different schools, that is quite particular to us.
Thank you very much. I should also add, I think, that actually both the 1-year and 3-year, they do actually end their courses with a term in London, where you get to actually do a public production and a showcase to industry professionals. So you can learn your technique in this unique environment, and then you can actually go to London and show what you've learned. So our next question is, can our contemporary monologue be from a contemporary musical?
I mean, really the choice is yours, but I think there are some things to think about, and I think you should always choose material that you connect with and that you feel, I'm just going to refer back to what we talked about earlier, that you feel really shares something about you, because it's your creative choice and it's a story you're interested in telling. I would recommend that a good piece will perhaps have a journey to it and allow you to sort of travel that journey in a truthful and kind of connected way. So I think there are no rules, rights or wrongs, but I would just use some of those guidelines to think about how you choose a piece.
Thank you, Kirsty. And our next question is there an opportunity to receive feedback after our result?
Yes, there is. Absolutely. We have a feedback system. So you can have a personal chat with somebody and hear some of your feedback. You won't get feedback from the person that auditioned you afterwards, but you will be able to have a discussion about that feedback. Yeah, and we think that's really important, and we really, you know, value people coming and auditioning for us and showing an interest. And just to say again, we have lots of students that have auditioned more than once because you know, it's a competitive thing getting into drama school, and sometimes people try for more than 1 year, and to no disadvantage to them in doing that. So I think feedback is really useful. It's a really supportive kind of learning tool, essentially.
Thank you. And the next question is, what are your values as a school?
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting because we sort of touched on it already, talking about the sort of school that we are, that we're personal and small, and take, you know, I think we actually collectively take an interest in each other. And that perhaps speaks to our values about working with integrity. So we, you know, we all, as human beings, need to keep refreshing our thoughts about how we interact with each other. You know, you don't lay it down at the beginning and then that's a kind of, you know, sealed deal. So there's something about us looking at ourselves as an institution and hearing our students and communicating with our students and encouraging an atmosphere in which we all deal with each other with respect and integrity. And in a way that goes as well for the kind of creative bravery and courage that we all are inviting ourselves to work with. And I say us because I think the tutors have to work with that kind of bravery and courage. We certainly attempt to foster that in the students, and also that as an institution we're taking risks as well. So innovating and making changes, creative changes, but also structural changes to what we feel needs to be taught to a young actor entering, you know, this world of creation and the industry today. But I'm going to just throw that open to Rosie and Ayana as well, because obviously they've had the experience or are having the experience of what it's like to be here and our kind of ethos and values. So I'll hand over to them.
Yeah, I would say like one of the huge things that I took away in terms of, yeah, I think was a big value that was pushed on us, and not pushed on us in a forceful way, but yeah, they're the kind of like creative bravery thing and the encouraging. I think there's a big emphasis on like empowering you to do your own stuff, and not only empowering you to do it on your own in the sense of like, yeah, you're being equipped to like, you know, do the job independently, but also, yeah, to make your own work. I think there's a big emphasis on that as something that anyone can do, and there's, yeah, lots of evidence of that in graduates. I think that's a big one. And yeah, I kind of touched on it in what I just said, but the kind of thing about you as the individual and kind of commitment to doing stuff that's true, it sounds really lame, but like, yeah, true to you, and kind of yeah, the self-poetry, self-song stuff, I think is really I don't know if, but yeah, I'm not explaining it very well. Yes, over to you.
Yeah, regarding the values, I think one thing that I really value about the school is that it's forever changing and developing, and I feel personally very listened to as a student. And even though things, you know it's in good change when things don't change like that as well, when there's a process behind changing and things are weighed out. And I think since I've joined the school, there's been big changes made for the better, and things that might have been changed and we go, oh no, actually it works better like that. So there's room for mistakes to be made with changes as well. Just like with our training, we're encouraged to make mistakes and to go out our comfort zone, but in a safe environment. And so I think in the best way possible, the things have parallels. So we're developing whilst the school's developing, and the school's developing whilst we're developing. But yeah.
Thank you very much. The next question is, how many of your students are successful in the industry after the course?
Hi, I'm just going to apologise now for the really rowdy song that's going on now through the wall. Don't know if you can hear it. I mean, I think that the simple answer is the majority of our students, but it really depends on two things. One is what you qualify as success, and the other is whether you're talking about immediately after the course or in the longer term picture, because essentially being an actor is, you know, it's a kind of marathon and not a sprint. And so as, you know, Ayana and Rosie have sort of said, you know, one of the things that we want to promote and encourage in our students is the ability for them to see themselves as being in charge of their careers. They absolutely might well get an agent and, you know, be offered work, but also there's the opportunity to create your own work, which many students do, and form companies or film companies or theatre companies. Lots of people have other creative talents which they utilize really well, writing, for example, or producing or directing. So I think that the most important thing is actually to see it as a long-term career, and not to try and sort of benchmark success by, you know, whether you immediately do you know, land a really big job as soon as you leave drama school or sign a big agent, because of many examples, more examples than the other way around, of people's careers building gradually but becoming really rich, really varied, and having longevity. So I think, yeah, that's what's important, and that's what we're kind of aiming for our students.
Thanks. There's also another question, which is, what is your audition process like?
Well, as Ayana mentioned, I'm going to quote Ayana on two things. One is that we continually look to change things. So the audition process is changing a bit and does a little bit from year to year. But also, as Ayana said, there's always a workshop element. So this year, the very first round will be online. And, you know, we've done that not just because of anything to do with the pandemic or COVID, but to actually instigate greater kind of availability to our audition process, to kind of widen the availability to further afield for people so they don't have to travel, for example. And then the first recall round will be here at the school, and that will involve sharing your pieces that you've chosen, but also doing a workshop. And the workshop will be quite substantial, so in opportunity to work creatively. And then the final recall, the second recall, will also involve you sharing work that you have chosen, and a workshop, and potentially responding to text or something that we might give you on the day. So I don't think that's that dissimilar to probably what Ayana and Rosie did. Is there anything you want to kind of chip in about that sort of experience of being able to do, you know, more than one, you know, more than one form of work on the day while you were here auditioning?
I think we're quite unusual in that you get to do the workshop element quite early on in the process, which I think is really valuable. Yeah, I mean, I think slightly different, but yeah, I think it was like the first day. Yeah, it was like the day was split in half, wasn't it? Would have been similar principle, like if the first time you'd come to the school. Yeah, and I think that's really good because it gives you the opportunity to yeah, because it's not all about just standing still and like saying a monologue, is it, you know? And the working with other people and the workshop element is, you know, very scary and great and collaborative, and yeah, I think that's really important because it makes you feel like you've had the opportunity to really show yourself, you know.
Yeah, in my audition, well, I did the foundation before I did the 3-year course, And so that audition was at the school, but the audition I did to get into the 3-year course was all online, because it was during the pandemic when I'd auditioned and then successfully got in. But I think what I can remember from what would be useful to you guys, which would be the first one, so in the in-person one, would be that I remember feeling very supported, not just by the people around me, I guess, who were also auditioning, but also by the tutors, like genuinely wanting you to do well. And I felt quite held in the audition, which I think is rare, because I'd had some awful auditions at other schools, I guess. And with the workshop aspect as well, same as what Rosie said, but having it very early on gave me a taste for the school, which I don't think you get at other schools, I guess, but you do at some. But yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Thank you. The next question is the Laban Malmgren acting technique included in Oxford's curriculum?
Hello. So I'm going to kind of put a presse answer around it, and then Ayana or Rosie could talk a bit about the Laban work. So essentially, we do work with Laban as a tool for transformation for actors, and we don't use Yat work. So Yat Malmgren developed that work at Drama Centre, and that really sort of, belongs to him, and it also belongs a bit to that time in which it was created, and practices change and evolve, and Oxford actually has its own practice with the Laban work. So the answer is yes, it's a really integrated tool here. It really is an experience for the students to expand their kind of range physically, but also to connect through to sort of psychophysical work as well, which is, how your psychology and your physical life sit together, of course. So perhaps Ayana and Rosie would like to just talk for a moment about Laban work, or things they remember or dislike or like. Don't worry that I teach it, guys, it doesn't matter.
I think the Laban work is something that I enjoyed it, but I think it's something that isn't to everyone's taste. Not that it's scary or anything, it's very physical, but I know in myself I'm not super physical when it comes to my acting, and it has helped, even though I was like wary of it at first and I wasn't quite getting it, like using it and has helped me a lot with like opening up physicality. So I guess that's another thing, just with redirection at auditions, or once you go into training, is just, even though you don't like something at first, just to stick with it and see what else can come up, because something else might come up that you're like, oh, that's helped me with this piece, Rosie.
I really enjoyed it. I think it was quite a big tool for me personally, but I think it's definitely one of those things, like everything we do, for some people it opens huge doors and they're like, wow, and for others less so. But I think the Laban, everyone got something from it. I think it's a real good, even if you don't. I've used it since I left. I didn't leave that long ago, but the job I've done, I used it. But I think even if you don't use it religiously, it's a really good foundational thing to use if you're stuck, to go back in with, kind of thing. So we did it and it was great. And I think it's a really important tool.
Thank you. We're now on to the questions that have been asked since we've been live. So the first question is, how much of the course is written-based assessments and how much of the course is practical on the 1-year course? I'm a dyslexic actor, so I was wondering what support there would be for that.
In brief, it's essentially all practical. So we don't ask for any sort of written work per se, although students do keep journals. But one of the changes we've made this year around journaling is to really open up the creative scope of how you keep your journal. Your journal is not really necessarily a record of what you do every day, but it's a sort of sounding board for yourself, or or recollections about your learning experience and things that you might want to, you know, look back on in terms of exercises you might use, breakthroughs you made, discoveries that, you know, things that might be useful for you in the future, as well as helping you to kind of think about that at the time. So those might be audio recorded, people might do it pictorially, people might make an installation to depict, you know, something about their work. And that's one of the kind of creative shifts that we've made this year, actually. So, oh yes, and support for dyslexic actor. So lots of students here and staff and tutors and staff, other staff, sure, are dyslexic. And actually, of course, there's a lot of neurodiversity within the school across everybody. So we all work together to find people's learning styles and routes, and also what people need in terms of how they're going to approach the work, how it's going to be most available for them.
Okay, thanks. So our second question is, which kind of background, experience or age do people have prior to being accepted?
I'd be interested to hear from Rosie and Ayana. You know, they've both had a cohort and a group, and what do you think the kind of mix is? And then I'm happy to jump in and talk a little bit, but they've both got good experience of the student body.
Yeah, well, with the classes I've been in, I think age and experience isn't a big factor. It's more of where you're, I guess, where, like I said before, like where you're sitting within yourself. And it's so in my class now, when we first started, we ranged from 18 straight out of school, people who got accepted at 17, all the way to 26. Someone who'd done a degree, a few people who'd done degrees, people who'd been traveling and never done any acting and decided to take it up last year, people who have been doing musical theatre or doing acting since they were like 2 years old. But I think there's not, the main thing is there isn't like the perfect person for drama school, or to get in you have to be this perfect person. Like, it's very much, you have to be you and use yourself to then throw yourself into the work. And I think background in terms of, I guess, neurodiversity, ethnicity, different languages. Like, there's people who are on the course who haven't spoken English, that's me, English as their first language, but also people who have spoken English as their first language and only speak English, and there's people who speak all different languages. And in terms of ethnicity, you know, there's all sorts of diversity, people who are mixed race, who are ethnic minorities, who, you know, there's all sorts. But yeah.
And yeah, I did the postgrad, so my year was slightly different in that we were, at least, yeah, we have to be 21, but it was a real range of, it's by no means made up of people that all did degrees. There were some people that had, some people that had not at all, who had been working for years prior to coming to the school, somebody who'd trained before like 10 years ago and came back to it. You know, it was like, my year was really wide ranging, which was like a really beautiful thing about it. And yeah. And also the degrees that people had done, those people that had done them were all very, very different. Like, by no means was it, you know, English and drama graduates, you know, there was like scientists, and, you know, it was a whole mix. And it meant that, you know, some people were better at some things than others, but then, you know, that would all level out in the end. So it was no advantage or disadvantage in any way.
And I think it's also worth saying that particularly on the 1 year course, sometimes people come at a midlife point when they're doing a career change. There's been people that have really changed their field and their career to come and train to be an actor. So yeah, I'd say there's a very big range of experience, and actually in lots of ways we're not looking for you to hold a particular type of experience when you come and audition. Like an interest and an availability, yes, but you know, a particular experience or background, certainly not.
Thank you. The next question is, do you do showcases in both Oxford and London?
We do performances in Oxford, but our showcase and our final performances are in London. Yeah.
Okay. And what is the movement training like?
This is unfortunate that Ayana and Rosie are going to feel under pressure now, because I'm the head of movement as well as the head of courses. So I'm going to say the movement training is great. No, all joking aside. So we have a movement team, and actually that's changed a bit this year. So there are 3 movement practitioners in the movement department at the moment, and we're looking to actually expand that a little bit and create a kind of movement lab, inviting different practitioners in. But we work, as we talked about, we work with tools, for example, the Laban efforts or Michael Chekhov's psychological gesture. But we also all work from our own practices as well. So part of, you know, the development of the tutors and the practitioners at the school is to be constantly evolving your practice and to be creating ways of working. So there is a tradition of there being some Lecoq-derived work in the movement department. So you might think about clown or other work from Lecoq exploring elements and colours and things. There will also be some physical movement. Most of the time, when we're allowed to make physical contact with each other, we would do contact improv, for example, and be working with exploring how we connect ourselves physically and express our imagination through our bodies and develop our confidence as creative and physically dynamic and alive performers. So essentially that is really the sort of basis. It's really about developing your own physical expressivity, I would say. Do you want to jump in there, guys, and feel free to say whatever you like?
Yeah, I would just say that the movement, I think I hadn't appreciated before I trained what that would involve. And actually, I mean, maybe this is specific to us, but it encapsulates like everything. Like we did a lot of our movement work involved text as well, and I think yeah, kind of it encapsulates so much of what we do, and it's yeah, I think it was some of the most important tools that you cover under that umbrella, but it's really broad. Yeah.
I was just going to say, like, to add on to that, I think the one thing with the same, I was the same as Rosanna when I first, like before I started, because I was like, oh, it's going to be dance or it's going to be the specific thing and I have to get it right. And I think the one thing with the movement is like there isn't getting it right. It's more like how you interpreted it and how it affects you. And I guess it's the same with voice. I was like, oh, it's going to be singing, but it's not. It's voice. It's a completely, it's a different realm altogether. And I think I thought it was going to be, oh, we're going to do voice, we're going to do movement, but really it's everything comes in and it helps you at the end of the day be an actor. And I feel like you discover that the more you do it. So the importance of the movement, especially for someone like me who was not using my body as much or got very stuck in being one way, it really opens you up to explore other possibilities, I guess, and take hold of other opportunities with your acting. Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is, how much do you train people for other mediums than theatre, such as TV, film and radio?
Well, they're certainly a part of the training. So it's really important to feel that you have a good grounding and a confidence. I think, you know, there's probably nothing like the first time you actually go on to a professional film set. So, you know, it's interesting that students will always write back and say, well, you know, the training prepared me for this and for that, but wow, it's, you know, big experience sort of going onto a film set. And of course, that's always going to be the case, that actually moving into the professional sphere will feel different to what you did in training in some ways. But I think that one of the most important things that kind of spans all mediums is the confidence in the creative choice that you're offering. And I think that that's the kind of onus of the work, essentially. Yeah, there's the technical preparation and things, but it's actually all about what the actor brings. I'm just going to ask Ayana and Rosie to just add any thoughts if they want to.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the second year, we do a radio play, and our last production was Russian theatre, so we had like 8 weeks to do it, and the radio play we've had maybe 3 weeks to do it, being fully in. And I think the one thing that really I feel quite prepared in, or that I'm learning, is the rehearsal time that you have, because sometimes you'll be given a radio script and you just have to show up and you have to do it. And so the difference between that, but yeah, like we do radio plays, and some of my classmates are filming some scenes now, so, and it's not like, oh, we do a bit of film and then that's it. Like we come back to it quite a lot, and I guess it's the same with like our other classes, with movement, with voice, with acting classes. Like we'll come back to it. It's not like a ticking of a box. But yeah.
Yeah, and on the 1 year, yeah, I mean, you know, rest assured, like you get a really good grounding in both. We did, yeah, I feel equipped, I think. But yeah, we did a kind of thorough, we did mock shoots, we did many self-tapes. I mean, I was the pandemic cohort, like right in the middle of that, so I did more than most, but yeah, like really good grounding in the practicalities of how to interact with this set, and also like, yeah, really good understanding of how you're just a part of a wider kind of machine and stuff like that, which, you know, applies to all mediums. So yeah, we got a broad sweep, and yeah.
Great. So I've got two sort of shorter questions about the 1 year course. So how many contact hours are there, and how many productions do you prepare when you're doing the 1 year course?
Well, I mean, essentially, really, our entire week is contact hours, because you're either in classes in the morning. So we tend to run the discipline classes in the morning. So that might be improv, movement, voice, animal studies, singing, acting through song, singing, professional development, those sorts of things. And most frequently rehearsals are in the afternoon, all afternoon. And at the same time, one-to-one tutorials, and that would be in movement and in voice and in singing, but also a kind of learning touch-based tutorial. They run through the afternoons, sometimes through the mornings. So essentially it is, you know, the full week, the full sort of week is contact hours, essentially. It's very different from a university course. And I'll just let Ayan and Rosie just talk a little bit more about the rhythm of the day, because obviously that does sound very intense, and it is quite intense, but also I think there's some, you know, space a little bit in it. That's something we've looked at recently, to put a bit more space for perhaps other things to come into the student experience as well as just training. But yeah, if you two want to share any thoughts about the kind of rhythm of the day, or a term even, or something like that.
Yeah, I think the main thing to say is that it's, which is the best thing about it, and I miss it, is that, yeah, it's like a full-time job, which is great, because that's the idea, I guess, why you're there. But yeah, it's, I guess, the beginning of the terms usually like, yeah, we're learning they're like units of work, and then, yeah, working towards a show or a sharing of some kind. But yeah, and it's kind of I think the routine of the day is really nice because you have body conditioning every day, which is like a short period in the morning, which is kind of self-led, and then the discipline classes, which are like, demanding, so good that they're in the mornings, and then the really long session in the afternoon is great because you get a lot done, and that is broken up. And the days, like, it's really busy, but it's not too long. I know from some other drama schools they work till really, we can work later, but I think it's good how our day kind of starts earlier and it finishes, we don't finish like super late, so I think it's packed in, but it's not too much.
I think one thing that I guess the rhythm of taught, like, it is demanding, and it, especially towards the end of term, you might get to a point where you miss your family, or you're tired, or you're getting annoyed and you're ready for the break. But I think, like, one thing that I'll always remind myself of, and like I know everyone else does as well, is like, we really want to do this and we really want to be here, and we're really grateful to be here as well. And so, like, all being tired or all of that kind of disappears when you have like the drive and to want to like do it all. And I think as well, like, the good thing about it being quite structured and quite like a full-time job, like Rosie said, what is the fact that it teaches you discipline. And so when you are out of work, if you leave drama school and you are out of work, then you'll still be able to do your body conditioning in the morning and know that, oh, maybe I should do a voice warm up today, and it will be within you to want to do those things. But yeah, I think the disciplines are a huge part of it, because like coming into adulthood as well, for like those who are coming straight from school or younger, it teaches you the discipline of like looking after yourself, like planning your meals ahead, like even just small things like that. But it's nice, it's a nice routine that you got going on. But yeah. And
one of the other things that to add, that when we're working on projects and stuff, like out of hours, like it's never that you don't want to be doing, people are always wanting to do more, and it's a really nice element of the school as well. We're allowed to work after school, and that's always a really nice kind of community, like different years stay behind, you work on things independently. There's always a real spirit of, like, especially at the end of the terms, it's quite like a real spirit of, people are working on stuff that they're trying really hard to make good, and that's quite exciting, and everyone's around, and that's a really lovely element of it as well.
Thank you. The next question is, what are the key attributes and qualities that you're looking for in students, and what's your advice to get the most out of the training?
I mean, as we've sort of talked about, there's a real diversity of people that come and train. I think it's important to be open, and by that I mean open to opportunity, open to learning, open to taking risks, open to creative play. And to be, as Ayana was saying, to kind of enjoy working collaboratively and creatively with other people. What was the second part of the question? How to make the most of the course? Yeah, well, it's funny because we quite often ask students that in their questionnaires, where they give us feedback, and we say, is there anything you'd like to say to incoming students? And they often say, just go for it. Just go for it. What do you think, you two? Is that what you'd still say? Go for it.
Yeah, I would say that. I think, especially on the 1 year, because you don't have so much time to kind of hit the ground running, so to speak. I think just trying to be as unafraid as possible to look stupid. There's no such thing, but I think a lot of people come with that kind of, like, it's a scary environment. You do things most days, especially at the beginning, that really scare you, but that's a great thing. And then I think you get to a point in not that long down the track where you're like, I can do anything, which is great. And yeah, I think that kind of spirit, just trying to be like, even if it seems totally impossible, just trying to do it anyway, I think is the best way to kind of make the most of it.
Yeah, and I think like just not being afraid to fail, and if you're going to fail, then the best place to do that is in drama school, because you're not being paid for it, and you can get it wrong and someone can be like, that's wrong or wrong, or you know, you do something that you're not as comfortable with, and it's the safest place that you're going to do that, because you'll have help from others, and it's not a judgmental place, and it's not going to ruin your career if you do something like not as well as you'd like to, or so on. But yeah,
thank you. We've got about 15 minutes left, I think, and about 6 questions. So the next question is, are the 1-year course and the 3-year course both seen by the same industry members, casting directors and agents?
Yeah, they are. I mean, I think there was another question. I might just kind of roll these two together, Louise, because I think I saw a question about you know, the courses considered to be as good as each other, and I do understand that sometimes there's this impression that perhaps 1-year courses are not held in the same high regard by the industry, but essentially for us the work that our 1-year course students do is really a testament to that not being true about our course. You know, Rosie's from our 1-year course, and so are so many other actors with really, you know, interesting and diverse careers that have graduated from our 1-year course. So I think that it's a really respected course here with a really great alumni, and I don't have any kind of evidence from our course that it isn't held in the same regards as the 3-year. And yes, the same kind of industry people come and see or are interested in the graduates. Yeah.
Thank you. This is just a short question. Can the audition monologue be taken from plays translated from a foreign language to English?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
can't hear you, Louise.
I know. It keeps, it's my little clicker. It says, why don't you do dance, but you do singing? An actor will need to memorize and repeat choreography at some point.
Well, we do sneak a bit of dance in there, yes. So, I mean, what I would say is that we really approach it as actors. So what we're interested in is, how do you tell this story, or how are you connecting to this material? So if the students choreograph something, or I choreograph, and then of course you're learning that set material, but it's really about how you connect to it and make it quite your own and bring something creative of yourself to that material as well. So we're really looking at it, and exactly the same as acting through song, we're looking at the creative avenue that that material gives you, whether it's choreography or a song lyric, or, you know, a text or a film scene. They're all about the discoveries you make as a creative person working on that material. So yeah, that's there in the course.
So the next question, is it possible to work part-time during the 1-year course, sort of on weekends?
Do you want to answer this first?
Yeah, I would say you can try. Like a couple of people in my year, I think Tom did for a bit. Yeah, I mean, in theory, yeah. But I would say it would be tough around the production times, but possible. But you'd be very tired. But yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know, Kirsty, if you wanna.
Can I just I'll add to that as well, because it's a thing I think a lot of people ask about, like all the courses, just in terms of having a job. Like I guess it's something to weigh out with what's going on. But I think, like, for our year, like, lots of us work because we need to. And it is very possible, but I think you need to be like, you need to have a routine and make sure that you're prioritizing the things that you want to. So ultimately it's a you decision, rather than I guess like, oh, can you, or, you know. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess the only reason why I was a bit more about the 1 year course just because, yeah, it's like condensed. We had a lot outside, but yeah, again, it would be totally possible. You just have to be super duper organized, and it's just the 1 year. So I guess, you know, if you had to do it, it would be hard for a bit, but.
Thank you. I think we've just got time probably for 2 or 3 more. So the next one is, I'm an actor with social anxiety. Will that affect my chances of getting accepted?
No, I mean, there will be what the panel are looking at in the audition is, you know, is what you offer in terms of your availability to training and your creativity. So there are, again, I would just say that it's, you know, actors make up a very eclectic part of you know, human nature. You know, we're all different. We're all we all have things about our lives that, you know, are part of our lives, and that's actually quite important in terms of understanding the human story and human nature and things like that. So I think it shouldn't be a concern that something that you personally experience in your life would be a hindrance to you. I think it's about your availability to take on training and to bring yourself to that process and to be a kind of creative individual.
Thank you. And here's a Shakespeare question. Someone wants to know advice on performing Shakespeare, mistakes to avoid, and how to stay ourselves and truthful, but respecting the language and rhythm.
What a great question. You know, that sounds like they've almost got the answer already there. But I'm going to let the other two talk about the experience of that. I think it's something that we talk about a lot on the course, actually, and we sort of do work around it. So over to you. Ayana, do you want to pop in first?
Yeah, I think, I don't know where to start with this because it's not like a direct answer. It's just like being respectful of the rhythm and the language is just be making yourself aware of it, and having like tapping along with the iambic pentameter and stuff, and just so like it's within you, and yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'll pass on to Rosanna because she'll know more than me.
I don't think I do, but well, I do, but not well. No, I don't. I don't. Yeah, I think we learned a lot about like how, yeah, not to like fight the language, I guess, that yeah, to embrace the things about it that are different from normal language. I don't know if that's very useful. But yeah, I think just not to be frightened of it. It's, you know, it's supposed to be accessible to, well, it was at the time supposed to be accessible to everyone. So yeah, I think it's like wrong that it's got this slight it's sad that it's got this like kind of about it, and we learn how to like get over that at school, and that's great. But yeah, I don't know, I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the job of theatre performers, directors, actors to really make sure that Shakespeare is accessible to coming generations and to kind of break down that barrier. And whether that's through performance style and how we engage in language, I think it's a question that needs continually asking, really. But like everything in the school, it's a bit, you know, you learn something new, and when you learn something new, it can feel unfamiliar, but you also are investigating how you personally connect with it. So, you know, like both Ayana and Rosie were saying, there's something about taking it on and not being frightened of it and learning what it's about and what it offers you to work with rhythm or with heightened language or verse, but to also find your route into connecting with it and using it in a way that is really kind of personal to you as well.
Oh, thank you. I think we have one more one more question, but it's quite a long one. I'm just trying to paraphrase it. Basically, someone who was going to audition and got into the finals at 18, went off to do costume design and is now 21 and wonders if it would still be worth doing the acting course. They live in Prague, or would it be better to try and pursue auditioning in Prague professionally?
I mean, yeah, I mean, that's a good question, but perhaps a tricky one to answer, because I suppose that depends on how you feel about the idea of doing professional acting jobs. I think, you know, it's interesting when people come to us, and as Rosie said, somebody in her year group had trained before and was coming back, and actually the same is the case of our postgrads who have just graduated as well. That I think you will intrinsically know in yourself really whether you feel ready to take on acting work, and if you feel there are still avenues you need to explore, or you feel that there's something that's holding you back, and that might be confidence, or it might be an ability with you know, an element of your work, then it can well be worth pursuing training. But that is not to say that there aren't other routes to bring those skills up as well. You know, I think that sense of working alongside other creatives and, you know, immersing yourself into the world, if you have the opportunity to do that, is also a really interesting thing to do.
Thank you very much. Thanks everyone for listening. I've seen that some people have been writing their thanks for the chat, which is great. And thanks to our panelists. This is being recorded and it will be put on YouTube, and also it'll be on our website, so you can listen to it. The other thing I just wanted to say is we also have a short online course running, which starts next week with a limited number of spaces. If you're interested in that, if you go to our website, and look under courses, then short courses, all the information is there. And if you still have a question, you can email us at info@oxforddrama.ac.uk. So thank you very much, and I hope you found it interesting. Our applications are open. Sometimes Christmas is quite a good time when you've got a bit of time off to do a self-tape. So obviously we're already starting our auditions. So thank you very much, and bye everyone.